Hello, everyone, and welcome to RPG Limit Break. Tonight we are excited to present to you a fantastic pair of races from Week 1 of the 2019 Dragon Warrior Randomizer Tournament. On your top against Smashy nitzguy1 in many randomizers. He says he's up to about 28 different randomizers now that he plays in his spare time. He's remained a veteran and a frequent contributor in the Dragon Warrior randomizer community as a racer and frequently as a tracker behind the scenes and occasionally as a commentator as well. And he has a tough task ahead of him facing off against Smashy, who has been focusing mainly on Dragon Warrior, and he also contributes as a tracker and commentator, but he has ranks and is now often among the top 5 on the overall leaderboard. So he figures to be a favorite to make a deep run here in this tournament. So that is the first matchup, and on your bottom screens we have against CaptainGreen7. nitzguy1 is a world record holder on Aerobiz, also enjoys Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy IV FE. He's been playing Dragon Warrior Randomizer for about a month, so he's getting up to speed quickly, and glad we have him with us tonight for this race. He says that he's the buster of fraud by day and a dedicated dad by night. So his Green 7 often for Mario Maker 2, Final Fantasy 14, as well as Zelda 1 randomizer. He enjoys plays tennis, amateur boxing, watching sport. He was the runners that I'll always remember in one of the very long marathon matches in a previous Chaos tournament that we've had, where it went well over 3 hours and both runners decided to win. So hopefully nothing like that happens tonight. I think we're going to have a nice smooth race. And joining me, commentator lavkian.
I am very, very excited. It is finally that time once again for the Dragon Warrior Randomizer Tournament. Every year this thing just gets bigger and bigger, and we just want to give a huge, huge shout out, huge thanks to the RPG Limit Break Crew, one for featuring a race between Sparkover and Silverfire earlier this year, for allowing us to use this channel, and for pretty much being one of the major factors in doubling our signups this year from, I believe, 34 last year to 63 this year. It's going to be awesome. I'm very excited.
Yep, and that leads us to a full action-packed schedule of races. We're going to have multiple races pretty much every day, I believe, as every runner is going to be 5 weeks of Swiss format for this tournament. So that means with 63 runners, we're going to have to watch to get underway.
Alrighty, so we do have different players in the throne room. MeleeWizard and Smashy are playing the same respective to each other. nitzguy and Captain Green playing a different seed respective to each other, and in their throne room we see an herb, a magic key, and another magic key here back behind the princess's empty spots. They're going to start with 2 keys, 12 strength, pretty respectable. Let's see if nitzguy and Captain Green both decide to go ahead and open up that treasury. Meanwhile, let's hear what happened in this throne room of MeleeWizard and Smashy.
Well, I think they're playing the same seed because you described exactly what I saw for MeleeWizard. So I think they're just separate races, but we should be following the same race, I would think. And there's an extra key, so they are going to be, for the most part, going in and checking out the throne room. And let's see what we have here, because MeleeWizard went back into the throne room in order to enable the gold glitch. Unfortunately, he opened the gold chest before the other chests, and I think there were some dragon scales and torches and maybe some herbs in there. I think Smashy did the same, but he's going to reset in order to possibly create an early gold grind, whereas MeleeWizard is going to potentially just grind up some herbs and head out into the world.
Yeah, and this guy taking the very bold play of doing the level 1 gold grind, which is only possible if you get that 2-key start. So just for anyone who is either new to Dragon Warrior or Dragon Warrior Randomizer, there is a glitch involving the way that the game is programmed. Basically, when the game is checking whether or not you have opened a treasure chest, it has 8 slots in order to put one of those treasure chests. Now, they also... whenever you die or enter the throne room for any reason, 3 of those slots are taken by the treasure chests in the throne room so that you can't just go back and grab them repeatedly. And so basically what happens at the start of the race is you grab those 3 treasure chests in the throne room, you exit and come back in, which reloads those 3 chests to make 6. Then with your extra key, you go into the treasury, you open 2 chests, and then you're all the way up to 8, which fills that little slot in memory, and every other chest you open from that point onward until you go into the overworld is just going to stay there, and the effect is what you see on nitzguy1's screen, is that if there's gold in the treasury, you can just take it over and over and over and over.
So meanwhile, on level 2, we had a huge number of spells gained. I think they have heal more, they have heal. I see Radiant on the screen. No hurt more yet, but that was a really nice level up. But it was gained. They beat some ghosts pretty easily, and looks like they're gonna just continue to grind a few more levels here. Having some healing spells early is a huge help.
Absolutely, having a healing spell, especially they started out with 20 hit points, which is actually a really decent amount. They could potentially start with that heal spell looking for things like Magitrakies or Scorpions, but right now Captain Green still looking for that level 2 himself. Should get it here against this red slime, and yes, he will, and he will access those heal spells for himself, which will again allow him to fight those tougher monsters.
So it's interesting, a couple of different strategies. MeleeWizard had gotten a little bit of gold out of the treasury, so he started poking around just outside of the initial zones just to see if there was a nearby town, and he quickly ran into a Magiwyvern, which gave him a quick death there. So that allowed Smashy to take a slight lead by sticking to the initial zones and getting to level 3 just slightly faster. As it turns out, I thought Smashy had reset in order to create a level 1 gold grind, but he actually reset in order to just save the key. So he went straight out into the world. He didn't like what he saw in the treasury, decided that he didn't really need the gold given the stats that they started with. So he has hung on to his initial key, whereas MeleeWizard has used his, and he will need to find the town of Rimeldar or perhaps a key somewhere in a hidden treasure chest in order to have access to certain portions of the seed now.
Absolutely, and that is one of those decisions that you are kind of forced to make in a 2-key start. Do you want to take a chance and poke your head into that treasury? Sometimes the early herb grinds, I know Lorgon is a fan of the early herb grind. Having 6 herbs can help out a lot. Of course, with that level 2 heal, not going to pay off so much there. Level 1 gold grind can sometimes pay off. So far for nitzguy, hasn't been able to found a town yet, but he's not given up. But then, of course, if you find that he's going to opt to keep that over the key, but nothing doing here in that regard.
This is kind of interesting. MeleeWizard and Smashy at the same time both decided to go to the old man that's southeastern corner of Tantigo Castle. It's the only way in the game for you to refresh your MP for free. I think that's with the intention of potentially just saving. Now that Smashy has enough gold to buy 1 key, he's going to open the back door here, and he already knows from earlier scouting reports that there's some gold in the treasury. So now he can open this treasury, get some more gold, and buy more keys back over there at that shop, and then potentially check the basement on the way out. So nice little strategy for Smashy, getting things started.
And meanwhile, we have Captain Green on level 3, and nitzguy now hitting level 2, going to give him all of that healing magic. He's got the movement magic with the outside and return spells. I imagine he's going to go and save again so that he gets to know he's going to go visit the old man first, but he may want to save again so that he can keep that money and the experience and still try to benefit from his early gold grind.
And wow, meanwhile, with the stats they have and the healing spells on level 4, MeleeWizard took on a wolf and was able to take it down for 40 experience, jumping him to level 5, and he takes the experience lead in the top race.
Yeah, never, ever, ever count out the power of an early heal spell. I believe they were sitting on about, 25 or 30 hit points themselves. Yeah, with Captain Green there on 37 HP and having heal and heal more, totally viable to just go ahead and go after a wolf. Very heads-up play.
So here's something interesting, although unfortunately Smashy runs headlong into a red dragon, but the mountain cave is in the basement of Tanteagle. And so there was the potential for him to go directly into a grind, or if he wants to come back there slightly later, he could clear out Mountain Cave and have access to a gold grind, since he already knows where the gold is in the treasury. Unfortunately, with the red dragon on the top floor there, he'll probably leave that task for quite a bit later.
That would indeed be the most common choice. Captain Green over here in the bottom right, taking on a wolf himself, using those same heads-up strategies that MeleeWizard used, knowing that he should be strong enough and he's got the healing magic to definitely outlast this wolf here. Going to pick himself up a quick 40 experience, and I do believe another level.
Yeah, the wolf is the strongest enemy that can appear in the initial zones. You have a zone right around the castle is guaranteed to have all early game monsters up to and including the scorpion. And then adjacent to that zone in both directions, you can have enemies that are as strong as the wolf. And once you step out beyond that, you can encounter anything. The rest of the map is totally randomized. So if you are feeling a bit weak and you don't think you can fight too many monsters, oftentimes you might want to stick right around the castle and try and find those enemies. But if the wolf is in one of those zones near the castle, that's sometimes a nice way to gain some early experience. Although I see MeleeWizard has gone quite a bit away from the castle, running into all sorts of enemies, and he's only on level 5, so pretty quick to check out the rest of the map is MeleeWizard. Smashy's still on level 4.
Alrighty, and we do have Captain Green here making it to level 5. That 30 strength is nothing to sneeze at, as none of our runners so far have any weapons. But just want to address a quick question in chat from 0xdeb0. What's up with the bottom left player's gold? Well, nitzguy1 did take advantage of the fact that with a very specific start in the randomizer, you have 3 chests in the throne room, and if 2 of those chests are keys, you can activate a glitch that basically exploits the way chests are stored in memory to make it so that you can open a chest an infinite number of times. Now, the contents of each chest are shuffled in Randomizer, but you have a very good chance, if you look at this guy's screen, that you see those 4 chests in the treasury in the castle behind the door. Very, very good chance that one of those chests will have a very high gold value in it. And if that's the case, and you activate that gold grind glitch, you can take that chest as many times as you want, and that's exactly what nitzguy did at the very start of the race. He was hoping to find a town very nearby. If he did, at 34,000 gold, he can basically buy the best equipment that money can buy in the game. Unfortunately, not quite paying off so far, but with good starting stats and still holding on to about half that gold, it still could be a huge advantage for him later on in the race.
So Smashy just picked up level 5. He heads northeast of the castle and promptly runs into the werewolf. I think we saw a magic wyvern in there. So if they do pick up Hurtmore at some point, that might be a nice place to come back to for later. Both of those enemy experience points and highly susceptible to Hurtmore, but he may want to go off in a different direction for now. Interestingly, both of the runners on the top screens are deciding that level 5 is enough to get started with the seed. So, at just 30 strength, that's kind of an interesting decision. Smashy is running into another wolf in the secondary zone before leaving the confines of the castle. And to me, this is like the best choice for an enemy that you could find. It doesn't seem to have any special abilities. In Randomizer, all the monsters can have any of the abilities in the game. So this wolf could have had Dragon Lord 2 Breath, for example. But in this one, he seems to just be fighting. And so that should be a good an additional 40 experience points. Looks like they do have the hurt spell now, so that will enable them to fight some slightly stronger monsters, and perhaps that's why both Smashy and MeleeWizard have decided to venture out on level 5. This Spectre, for example, is a great enemy at this stage of the game.
Absolutely. And Captain Green taking a somewhat more conservative approach, you might say. He definitely enjoys this zone that is just west of start, where a wolf is the strongest monster that can appear. We know he can kill the wolf. He knows it too. The warlock is even a little bit weaker than that. So he may want to opt to... Yeah, it looks like he's going to opt to stay here a little bit longer, try to get level 7 to see if he can get that hurt more spell or a little bit more strength to make it a little bit easier to survive as he walks around the map.
So the exploration advantage has evened up on the top race as MeleeWizard finds the town of Rimmeldar. Remember that Smashy held on to his keys and MeleeWizard spent his keys. But he, unless he doesn't have any money, he could be buying keys right now in the town of Rimmeldar. It looks like he doesn't have any money to spend, so he's going to hopefully get at least 53 gold here so that he can run around the back of the shop and buy some keys for himself. Otherwise, he'll make a note and come all the way back to this town later on. There was some very expensive equipment in this town as well, and so we know that there's the potential for a relatively early gold grind with Mountain Cave in the basement and gold in the treasury. So this is a really good find for MeleeWizard if he can get himself some keys here. He's able to get the money from this Metal Scorpion. Let's see what he does.
Meanwhile, looks like we do just have Nitzguy trying to work his way up to, I believe he is now level 4, looking for level 5. And Captain Green over there in the bottom right, still looking for that level 7. He is very close. I know this Magic Jockey will not quite get it. He is going to need a little bit more, but again, 1 or 2 enemies away from that level 7. And if it's hurt more on this level, we could see him take a pretty large lead here.
So I apologize. MeleeWizard did buy some number of keys because I saw him open the chest in the inn there, and it was just the fairy water. I'm not sure how many keys he has remaining, but it is nice that he has access to keys. Smashy now finds the same town, and I guess what's interesting with in Smashy's case, venturing forth a little bit on the early side, I think is a good decision when you do have keys and you know that there's gold in the throne room, because if you find a town nearby, you can quickly pop into that treasury a couple of times and maybe get some hand axe money or some broadsword money or something like that. It just so happened, I think the least expensive weapon in this town is the flame sword for 9,800, so that's not going to be of any use until they actually initiate a traditional gold grind at some point, but he'll make use of that a bit later on.
Alrighty, Captain Green did hit level 7, and level 7 did bring the spell of Repel, which is obviously not as valuable as the ever-powerful Heal More, but is still a wonderful spell to have, given the fact their agility is pretty decent. Defense power is 21, which means the Repel spell, what that basically does is it's going to, as you walk around the map, and if you would normally get an encounter, it's going to check the strength of that enemy against your defense power. And if your defense power is higher than the enemy's strength, it's going to cancel that encounter entirely. And green, that's basically going to have the effect of canceling any encounters in the immediate area around Tantagel Castle, as well as any random slimes or drakies he might find wandering around the map searching for towns. And so the benefit there for Captain Green is that when he does decide to move out onto the map, that Repel spell is going to allow him much faster movement by canceling out those unnecessary battles. But first, looks like he's going to go check out the Mountain Cave.
Welcome to those who are joining us from Randomania, raiding with a party of 90. And we have ourselves 2 races here, and we're in the early stages. So if you were joining us from the race over there, check it out. We are underway. Most, or at least some of the runners have keys. MeleeWizard on the top left has just found the town of Cole, and it's going to be a pop quiz for our chat to see what was in that search spot, because I missed it while I was watching something else. Meanwhile, Rimmildar has been spotted, and they did start with an extra key, but some of them used theirs. Others held on to their keys, but Rimmildar is not too far away. We're going to see on Smashy's screen, it is the Nothing Burger. So we'll have to wait a bit longer for Erdrick's armor and that sort of thing. We have heal, and we have heal more. There's a silver shield available here in this shop in Cole. There's the flame sword is available in Rimmildar, and there is a gold grind available with the mountain cave being in the basement of Tantegel. Unfortunately, 3 steps into it from Smashy, and he runs into a red dragon. So could be a little while before we take advantage of that, but things are happening. So welcome aboard and enjoy the race.
Yeah, speaking of nasty monsters, Captain Green did take a dip into Mountain Cave and was pretty close doing that dark navigation to getting that one lone chest on the top floor. Unfortunately got blocked by an armored knight, or as we like to call it, the AK-47, because he will swing that automatic axe into your face with reckless abandon as soon as he gets the chance. And so that's probably going to keep Captain Green from going back there anytime soon.
And MeleeWizard is back at the castle, and he's going to buy at least one more key. He wants to check out what's in the basement, I believe. And so he has at least some keys at his disposal. And let's see if he can make some progress in that mountain cave. Nobody able to do a really good job through there just yet, but he's going to take a shot. He has a torch and everything, so we get to watch his progress through this dungeon. Watch out for those red dragons, and let's see if he gets to any of the treasure chests. He has a really nice walk, and then the first one is the fairy water. And he's going to sprinkle the fairy water on him now. In Dragon Warrior 1, I'm not convinced that the fairy water is effective inside the dungeons, but it is similar to the repel spell that you talked about out on the overworld, I believe.
As far as I know, neither Fairy Water nor Repel work inside dungeons, only on the overworld, so...
And Smashy's going to hope for a big roll here on the herb, and he has run out of resources, is going to get trapped in the wizard's house after getting the information about the coordinates, which I also missed, but there may or may not be coordinates given, and if there are, it will lead you to a search spot out on the overworld that could contain the Erdrick's armor, or sometimes Erdrick's token, and sometimes a fairy flute. Erdrick's armor is guaranteed to be on one of 3 search spots in the game, whereas those other 2 items could also be in a treasure chest. Smashy is going to take another run at this mountain cave since he has been sent back to the castle.
Yeah, with one search spot ruled out in our top race here, now I'm wondering if we have seen any cursed belts yet, because it is possible that both the token and the flute could be in a chest, the armor could be on the map, and Hawksness could have nothing, but again, not a whole lot of information to go on in the early going.
So Smashy, again, the first enemy he sees is another red dragon. That is not very fun to see when you just want to make a little bit of progress. Thanks for Zarnax42 updating us on the actual coordinates, 17 north, 94 west. So there's a potential that we might want to be rescuing the princess, who is held prisoner in the swamp cave and behind a key-locked door. If you rescue that princess, take her back to the castle, she can give you a special item that can help you locate that specific spot on the map. Meanwhile, we're in a little bit of a rut with gaining experience, Lavkian, where all of our runners are trying to make progress through the map, and we're kind of stuck on these middle levels 6 and 7. We have the hurt spell to work with, and none of our runners have been able to upgrade their weapons. They're stuck in the 40s and 50s for attack power. They have the hurt spell, but it's kind of like they can't quite get it going just yet.
Yeah, I personally, as far as my own philosophy goes, everyone else has a slightly different philosophy, as we can see here from this race. But I do like Captain Green's strategy. He does have the early lead in his own race, as well as the seed overall at level 8. Just been plucking away at those wolves and warlocks, and unfortunately, level 8 did not bring a whole lot in terms of magic, but it looks like it did bring a little bit in power. Actually, looks like looking at Smashy's screen, that was mostly on level 7. However, one thing I would like to mention is that may not want to rule out that hurt spell just yet, as if Captain Green or anyone else could find maybe some wyverns or some magi drolls or something of that nature, just a slight bit stronger. The hurt spell can sometimes be effective, but again, all up to personal philosophy.
So we have a metal slime on screen for MeleeWizard, and lavkian, I want to point out that Smashy now has taken 3 or possibly 4 runs almost in a row into the mountain cave, going from Tantegel, repeatedly going back into mountain cave, with the idea that if he could just open 2 chests, he will have a gold grind. And he has seen shops containing flame sword and silver shield. What do you think about him just continuing to try this, where he runs into a golem this time? Last time he ran into a red dragon. If somehow he could just get that gold grind initiated, he could be off to the races, but he's given up on it for now.
Yeah, there's some people in Discord who have said that 2 or 3 chances are about all that they'll take, and then they'll just kind of go and move on to something else. It's obviously a risk-reward thing, and unfortunately, Smashy did not get the reward for his risk, but it looks like MeleeWizard did.
See, what I'm thinking is if you could just get past the first floor, if you can make it to that stairway, the second floor is potentially totally different monsters. And there's a pair of chests right next to each other. So you could get to those 2 chests, and that's enough to set up your gold grind. So now MeleeWizard has beaten Smashy to the punch on that strategy here. And MeleeWizard also saw those same 2 towns. Flame Sword is available in Rimmeldar, and Silver Shield for sure in Cole. Don't remember if that was also in Rimmeldar. There was some expensive stuff there. So if he can make it, he'll probably do what we call a safety save here, since they are still pretty vulnerable on level 6. But he'll go talk to the king and lock in all this gold. So then he can try and make a run for those towns. And once he gets there, having the Flame Sword upgrade in this situation with no hurt more yet and the strength score kind of lagging would be a huge boost for MeleeWizard here.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Captain Green just going to go ahead and settle in on the strategy of continuing to gain more experience here. Again, finding that very comfortable zone of wolves and warlocks that might take a little bit longer to grind up to level 9 than you would like. Level 9 requiring, I believe, 975 experience. But again, with those wolves giving 40 at a time, he's going to be there in no time. And hopefully, level 9 will give him either some power or a spell or something to help him gain a little more access on that map.
Yeah, you can see on Smashy's also on level 8 now, and he can't even one-shot a Metal Scorpion still, which is one of the initial zone enemies. And but he does find the Stones of Sunlight Cave, and it happens to have Erdrick's token in that one chest. So that's actually pretty interesting, because oftentimes that is on a search spot. So now that, in some cases, that can save him a trip. We'll see how that plays out. For example, if he goes and finds Hawksness and locates Erdrick's armor, then there won't be any need for him to go all the way 90 something to the west to locate that overworld item, because he'll know at that point that it's just the fairy flute. So nice to get that token, and we'll see if he can take advantage of that information later on.
Absolutely. Now, Nitzguy is looking at a town over here. I do not know what town that is. The only one that I can kind of remember the location of is Rimmeldar, seeing it on the race above. It looks like Nitzguy is going to... He's going to heal up, doesn't want to run into another nasty monster. No, he is going to just go ahead and check out this cave here, which I believe is going to be, yep, it's going to be that Stones of Sunlight cave. And so between Nitzguy and Captain Green, Nitzguy will be the first person to pick up that required Erdrick's token, giving him a slight lead in terms of those plot items.
So Smashy took another death, and he's one level further along, and he took a step in the direction of Mountain Cave. I thought maybe since he's on an additional level, he'd take one more crack at it, but decided to nope out and continue his travels in a different direction. This is the zone up here where we had werewolves and Magiwyvern, but he's going to brave the mountains here. and he's going to try and take a peek. It looks like this might not go anywhere. Joel Magi is actually a pretty good enemy at this stage of the game, but he decided that he didn't want to go after it. Not sure about that unless it has a special ability that I missed. Looks like it does have the Hurt More, and our runners do not yet know the Stop spell in order to block the Hurt More from the enemies. So that explains why he would try to run away from the Joel Magi. Otherwise, that's a nice mid-game enemy. You could attack it with the Hurt spell. But unfortunately, sent back to the castle yet again. Smashy has to be feeling some stress now, as MeleeWizard is still trying to carry all of this gold to those towns, which were not particularly close by. So we'll have to watch, see if he makes it.
Yeah, nitzguy in the lower left here is taking advantage of exactly one of the situations I talked about earlier. He managed to take out a wyvern with the hurt spell. Usually 3 or 4 will do the trick, and he gets himself to level 8 and is going to take a peek into Cantlin. And unfortunately, not a whole lot of gold left to spend, but could buy himself some herbs on the way out if he so chooses.
So, by the way, this area to the northeast that I said probably isn't going anywhere, well, look at this map. It sneaks through, and there's a whole different landmass up here. So that's why you have to get your eyes on all the coastlines when you're exploring the map. You could easily miss whole sections of the map by assuming that there's a dead end at the end of that peninsula, and he has made it through. So far, he hasn't found anything, but nice bit of exploring for Smashy. Finding some more reasonable enemies, inching towards level 9 here. He's closing in on it. We'll have that at 975 total points. MeleeWizard, I believe, is still trying to carry this gold to the towns. And if he's taking deaths and resetting in between, that resets his experience total. And that means that he'll be falling further and further behind Smashy while he continues to try this task. It would be a pretty big boost if he could make it there and get that flame sword, but how long do you want to try and keep resetting and not gaining experience?
It's a tough call. I can say, personally, I would be incredibly tempted to keep doing what MeleeWizard is doing, and I'm not sure exactly what's in the zone, but it looks like, he's definitely almost there. It just depends on what's in this zone, and he made it.
All right, Flame Sword is available here for MeleeWizard. Don't remember what the armor situation was in this shop, but he's got a whole bunch of gold. So let's see here. He's going to buy the Flame Sword. Looks like we have magic armor here as well as, I think, a large shield. And now from here, he could, if he has the return spell, maybe make another safety save. And there's a silver shield available in Coal, which he also saw. I'm not sure if they actually have the return spell yet. Otherwise, maybe he's just going to try and walk. But he got the most important item, which is the Flame Sword. As you can see, none of our other runners have much in the way of weaponry. I guess in your race, Lavkian, they managed to get the hand axe. But my goodness, Flame Sword, that is one of the ways that he could catch up on this experience deficit.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, back on nitzguy and Captain Green's screen, Captain Green exactly 1 experience point away from level 9, which again, if it does carry that Hurt More spell, could get him a pretty big lead. And I do want to take a quick minute to do a little bit of speculation on a possibility in this race that I would like to see. So we've seen the token. Token was in a chest. We know there's nothing in Coal. We know that the coordinates are a little bit hard to search, potentially. A little bit hard to count. That's over 100 steps, bare minimum. And we have seen a couple of Sharlock enemies with, I believe, either Sleep or Dragon Lord 2 or Hurt More in any number of combinations. I'm hoping that one of those monsters is going to be blocking the princess this seed, and I really hope that armor is on the map.
You're just looking for maximum pain, I guess. It's like just suffering. My goodness.
I want to see how these players count. That's what I want to see. How do they count in a situation like this?
Yeah, that is, of course, the other way to get that overworld item is that you can literally just count your steps from the castle. And oftentimes you get all sorts of encounters and other, waterways, rivers, and some mountains and other obstacles that you have to wind your way through. So it's a difficult task oftentimes. And I'm actually looking at Smashy potentially counting this right now, Lavkin.
Yeah, that's what Zarnak said in chat. And the really unfortunate thing, wow, Demon Knights with Sleep and Hurt More, that is disgusting. And is basically, I don't know if MeleeWizard has seen the coordinates yet, but if he has, he's going to have a huge advantage in trying to count them, not only from that repel spell, but also the fact that he's not going to be bothered by a lot of these monsters that are just going to potentially kill Smashy as he tries to make these counts.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The longer we go without Hurt More, this Flame Sword for MeleeWizard, look at him. Well, that was an excellent move, but basically one-shotting a Wraith Knight. He did 25 or so damage to a Wraith earlier. And yeah, he's going to be plowing through these enemies now, whereas Smashy, unfortunately there he was a small favorite to run from that Demon Knight, but lost the coin flip and got sent back to the castle, interrupting his count. And kind of looks like he's given up on the count. Sometimes you can landmark a certain spot on the map and you just run back over and pick up your count from there. Not sure what happened here, but the Wizard also has Sleep and Hurt More Lavkin, so we have a Sharlock enemy now with a potentially deadly combo.
Absolutely. Fortunately, Wizards fairly one of the easiest enemies to run from in that late game in Sharlock, but in the instance that you do get back attacked by one as you're making that dive, the Wombo combo potential is definitely there, something to take note of.
All right, so MeleeWizard, I guess he must have lost half his gold that when I wasn't watching, so he has decided just on the large shield in the town of Cantlin here. It's going to take a quick in. I don't remember if he already got the coordinates or not, but if not, then he will probably be doing that now. He has only one key. He checked his inventory, so I expect him now to go to this key shop. That's a heads-up play, because if you use the one key that you have on the Wizard's house, all of a sudden you're running around and you don't realize you're out of keys. So smart move there. Checked his items. He was down to his last key. And there is a often unused key shop right here in Cantlin. It's expensive, but it gets the job done. He's got plenty of gold, and now he's going for the Wizard's house for those coordinates.
And again, just quickly pointing out here that Captain Green holding on to that hand axe. I know he bought a small shield. Not sure if he has bought any armor yet, but putting all of that to really good use here. Again, across all runners in this particular seed, he's only up against Nitzguy, but across all runners in this seed, he has the most experience here, already over halfway from level 9 to level 10, and looks like potentially counting the coordinates himself as well.
Yeah, Captain Green looks like he was taking a little landmark there. And that's often what you have to do when the path gets really windy. Smashy is counting yet again, by the way, and I think has just run across another cave in his travels, and that could be used. He could write down the coordinates of the jerk cave here, for example, in case he takes another death. He could just come straight back to the jerk cave. You see him pausing on the screen here. I think he's doing exactly that, making a quick note on a pencil and paper of the coordinates for the jerk cave. And so he can pick that count up later on. But this is a really long count, and he's running out of map here. So are we going to have a second coordinate situation or a second continent situation? Looks like he thinks that it's in this area, doing a lot of searching. So you never know.
And just a heads up for anyone who is less familiar with the vanilla Dragon Warrior 1 game. In this game, that cave that Smashy was just in is normally where you would get the rainbow drop, a required item to access Sharlock Castle, the final dungeon. However, if you do not have Erdrick's token, when you talk to the old man, he says something along the lines of, "Thou hast failed in thy quest, be gone," and actually kicks you out of his cave. And so that is why we lovingly call him the jerk.
So MeleeWizard does go in that same direction now and picks up the token from the Stones of Sunlight cave, that token that you were just talking about. So Smashy and MeleeWizard both have that in their possession. So now what they need to do is gather up the Staff of Rain and the Stones of Sunlight and go back to that cave with that old man. And since they do have the token, he will trade those two items for the rainbow drop. which gives you access to the final dungeon. So we still have a lot of work to do with finding those quest items, but I don't know what happened with Smashy there. Did he find... Looks like we have the fairy flute marked off for Smashy. So that means the armor is in Hawksness.
Yep, that means the armor is in Hawksness, and we did see. Now, I will say, Smashy may not be super happy with that find, but I believe chat has mentioned that golems have at least the Dragon Lord 2 version of that fire breath, doing something like 68-72 damage to our runners currently. And still not very friendly, even when they do pick up Erdrick's armor, cutting that damage in by 2/3, I believe. But armed with that fairy flute, in the future, Smashy will be able to put golems to sleep and run from them guaranteed. So something to stick in his back pocket.
And guess what? That was one of the enemies that he ran into in the mountain cave, and Smashy still hasn't been able to get through there to set up the gold grind from the mountain cave to the treasury. So with the flute in hand, I thought maybe he would go back into the mountain cave there, and that is one of the enemies. Now he could just guarantee himself a run.
No, he has not bought a weapon either. However, in the bottom left, we have nitzguy. Looks like he's made a few attempts so far here at getting through that mountain cave. So far, only being presented with monsters that he can easily dispatch, but as we know, there are some very, very nasty creatures waiting on that first floor, and Captain Green also going to go ahead and make a few more attempts. Probably both of them wanting to take advantage of that gold grind and those shiny, shiny, expensive weapons that they have already seen, if not, of course, picking up some more nice things along the way.
So we have a metal slime that's been sticking around for a while for MeleeWizard, and this could close the gap on the experience. He's got him at 2 damage now. He's 50-50 to get him. He fails that one. This metal slime has been here for a long time, and he gets him. So that is a huge boost for MeleeWizard. Almost brings him up to level 9 as he steps into Hawksness, which we know has Erdrick's armor. And I think he's just going for the information. He has almost no resources here. And I don't know. Doesn't even have enough for heal more. Let's see what it is if he wants to take a step here. So, oh my goodness, it's an Axe Knight tile on the Hawksness square, and he has run into Axe Knights previously, and they don't seem to have any abilities. That is, if he had 1 or 2 heal mores there, he could have probably gotten him with the Flame Sword. So he could go right back there and maybe pick up Erdrick's armor. And that is a really nice grind spot, either right now or in the future.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. On nitzguy's screen, nitzguy made a very heads-up play here. He intentionally took the chest in the treasury before coming down here to this mountain cave, which means he has triggered a second gold grind for himself down here in the mountain cave, and already having that information about where the shiny weapons are on the map, I imagine he is going to go up to that 34,000 gold, and he's going to get himself the full gear. He's going to get himself a pretty nice equipment lead shortly.
Yeah, and they learn the outside spell very quickly, I think, like on level 2. So he could just, I don't even know if he's going to continue through this dungeon, but he could just get right out of here immediately with this gold and go save with the king and go get some gear. Yeah, but that's always fun to see when they do it kind of in the reverse way and end up with this grind actually in a dungeon. So yeah, now he's going to have to decide, does he keep walking to any other chests that maybe he hasn't seen yet? Or does he just immediately cast outside and escape with this gold?
I think Captain Green, it looked like Captain Green was walking out after getting several chests and taking the intentional death to the Axe Knight. So I think he is going to head over to the treasury and do a gold grind of his own.
Another town here found by MeleeWizard. I don't think we've seen this one yet, have we? Oh, no, it's Cole. Okay, he's come all the way back to Cole and just taking an inn here, I guess. I don't think he has enough money for that silver shield. Nope. So he'll move on from here. Smashy is going to finally get some gear. I think he's got enough for a large shield, which he does buy. I don't know that he has a weapon yet, but prioritizing the large shield here, and he will move on. But again, Lavkian, it feels like these middle levels have kind of thwarted the players here. Within about 10 minutes, they were all like up to level 5 and 6. And now, you know, we're 40 minutes into the seed and we're at levels like 9 and 10, which means that, you know, we haven't gotten hurt more. A lot of the runners have had trouble upgrading their gear, and we haven't had any huge strength gains either. So we've been kind of whittling down some medium enemies with the hurt spell. We've been punching some smaller enemies in the face with no weapon. Smashy is going to take he's going to run from the green dragon. For example, MeleeWizard might be able to fight that green dragon because he's the only one of our 4 runners here with the flame sword.
Yeah, and Captain Green is taking advantage of the fact that he grabbed all the chests in the mountain cave, or maybe all but one. And chat pointing out that sometimes when you are doing this gold grind glitch, if you take a chest that normally would have an item, we see it on nitzguy1's screen here. It says he picked up Erdrick's armor. That is not actually Erdrick's armor. It is just part of that gold grind glitch. But now nitzguy1 having all the information of what's in the mountain cave, gonna leave, gonna go take the safety save, and gonna go buy himself some nice gear.
And we have Sharlock and a town right next to Sharlock. I don't know, I can't remember if we've seen this yet or not, but Smashy poking around, and it is the town of Breckenary, and he'll use the opportunity to refresh at this inn here. But that's cool that there's an inn very close to Sharlock to prepare yourself for that final dive against the Dragon Lord.
I kind of have to wonder, might want to talk to McGrew or Gameboy about this later. I'm curious if these different versions of Randomizer have an effect also on where the game's pointers go when they're confused about what item name to load. I've never seen Erdrick's armor before, but not only that, it was only a few weeks ago that I was watching Nestcard stream and he found the tablet, which I had also never seen before, but I've been seeing more often now recently. So I do wonder if that has to do with the way Randomizer works.
So MeleeWizard, meanwhile, picks up a level with a ghost kill, and now it has a little bit more HP to work with for this Axe Knight fight. And really heads up play there. At 61 HP, it was kind of an annoying fight. But now with Heal More and 71 HP, this is almost a lock here for MeleeWizard, as long as he's careful about healing in between attacks here. And he's going to pick up Erdrick's armor, which is a very nice addition to his collection of weapons and armaments.
Absolutely, and it looks like Captain Green gonna head straight to, I believe that is the town of Cantlin, and do his shopping.
So MeleeWizard is going to use this opportunity to grind more Axe Knights, even though he doesn't have Hurt More. It's still like a guaranteed encounter for 130 experience, and interesting play. If he takes this all the way down and takes a Death Warp, he could actually take the lead over Smashy after being behind by almost 1,000 points.
Absolutely, and I completely like this play in his position. He's got a flame sword, he's got Erdrick's armor, he's got a large shield. His defense is going to be fairly high. Of course, Axe Knight, one of the end game monsters, normally only seen in a select few zones, and Sharlock itself. Of course, we can give shout outs to McGrew, because, Hawk's Nest having the Axe Knight and the armor, a little bit to vanilla for Randomizer. But again, MeleeWizard making the heads up play, taking advantage and getting some of that, cutting into that experience lead very, very quickly.
Well, at least the Axe Knight doesn't have any nasty abilities in this one, as he does in the original game. So a little bit easier armor grab in this one. We have MeleeWizard getting it at level 10, which would be a tall order in the original game. But absolutely, it's fun to see how things are shuffled or not shuffled in certain cases, as every seed is wildly different. Lots of replay value in this particular randomizer.
Absolutely. And want to point out, unfortunately, Airdrix, with Smashy finding the fairy flute on the map and MeleeWizard going ahead picking up that Airdrix armor, the dream that I was somewhat hoping for is now dead. There will be no forced princess saves today.
Yeah, so this is kind of one of the things I alluded to early on, was that now, MeleeWizard doesn't have to spend all that time that Smashy spent counting out these coordinates. He found the tablet in that Stones of Sunlight cave about 10 minutes ago, and now he has the armor. So, that's a lot of walking and counting by Smashy that MeleeWizard just doesn't have to do. So picks up significant time there with respect to his opponent.
Absolutely. And it is of note, as I'd mentioned before, that Captain Green with his 72 defense and MeleeWizard with a 66 defense, they are, when utilizing that repel spell, going to have a much, much quicker time than their respective opponents in terms of finding those missing pieces on the map. Both right now pretty much looking for Garenham, which has 3 chests in the back, and the Grave, which is going to have a potential 5 more chests. Still looking for that sword, and I believe these Stones of Sunlight.
So MeleeWizard just took the experience lead in your top race, guys, and after being behind by almost 1,000 points, that is kind of unusual to see that, and it's fun that we're bringing you guys a back and forth race here, and that flame sword is just such a big advantage that you can see how the lead for Smashy dwindled and eventually evaporated. Smashy did just pass up on the opportunity to buy a copper sword there, so I'm not sure if maybe he actually has a hand axe or something that I missed earlier, but he certainly never was able to set up that gold grind for that flame sword. And MeleeWizard continues to use that to his advantage. This Wyvern, for example, is a nice medium-sized enemy that he could two-shot sometimes with the flame sword, and Smashy would still have to maybe struggle through casting some hurt spells and things like that. And so yeah, it's very interesting development that the ability for one runner to manage to get through that mountain cave, through the dreaded red dragons at a fairly early point in the race, and the other runner was denied by said red dragons. That has caused quite the turnaround in this race here.
Absolutely. MeleeWizard going to be utilizing that flame sword to leave a trail of cauterized blood vessels in his wake for sure. I do want to answer a quick question. I do want to answer a quick question in chat.
Smashy just went through the swamp cave, and there's just this giant swamp covering the whole screen. Just wanted to throw that out there, but go ahead.
Yeah, Swamp Cave living up to its name as Smashy takes one step out into the second continent and immediately gets sent back by that Wombo combo we mentioned earlier. But again, to answer Omnicrom's question in chat, so we do see on the tracker that old man with 17 north, 94 west. So basically, in the vanilla version of Dragon Warrior 1, if you're unfamiliar, Airdrix token, which is a required item, is normally located in the southernmost point of the vanilla map in a place that you would never, generally speaking, in a million years, be able to count yourself. And so what the game intends you to do is you get those coordinates, you rescue Princess Gwaelin, you bring her back to the castle, and you get an item called Gwaelin's Love. And what Gwaelin's Love does is it tells you exactly where you are on the map, so that once you have those coordinates, you can kind of walk in the vague direction of where the coordinates are, use Gwaelin's Love, pinpoint your location, we like to call it the Gwaelin positioning system, and then find whatever item that is. Once again, in the vanilla Dragon Warrior 1, it's always the token, but in Randomizer, it can be Airdrix token, Airdrix armor, both of which are required, or the fairy flute, which is not required, but sometimes useful to have, and in this case, it was the fairy flute.
So meanwhile, Smashy does take another run into Mountain Cave and finally makes it off the first floor, and he's now collecting the various treasure chests in the second floor, and he has enough collected now to have the gold grind initiated. And he will probably try and get to this last chest. You can see that the second floor has a much easier enemy set with magicians and scorpions and red slimes, whereas the top floor had the red dragon and the golem. So that's why I was saying maybe you just try and get to that stairway, because it only takes 2 chests to initiate the gold grind. You don't necessarily have to get that first one. And he does grab the harp out of the last chest, so he is ready to print some money.
Absolutely. And now with that silver harp in hand, it looks like 3 of our runners now are pretty much in the same spot in terms of those required items. Again, just looking for, well, they do need to find the shrine cave in order to get that staff of rain that is required. Looks like Captain Green here making a little bit of a foray onto the second continent. Going to find a cave here that we haven't seen yet. Let's go ahead and try to figure out what that is. I do believe this is going to be the grave, casting Radiant, and yes, that confirms it.
All right, that's good. Still some things that we can find in treasure chests, and there are 3 of them pretty close by. Let's see if he can make it there. Meanwhile, I realized that we don't have the silver harp marked off for MeleeWizard, and it's possible that he went in there on a fairly early level and was able to open up a couple of chests to initiate that gold grind, but didn't get to that last one. And if that's the case, he might leave that for a long time until he really doesn't have any more chests left to open. And since it does have the silver harp, that could be a problem for him.
And Captain Green does find these stones of sunlight on the top floor, which means the only thing that he's really looking for in a chest is the Erdrick sword. Obviously, the fighter's ring or the death necklace would be a nice find, but may opt not to full dive the grave in order to find them. Yes, going to go ahead and cast that outside spell and move on. Just wants to find Garinham, which I believe at this point we've seen every other cave. MeleeWizard currently in the tablet cave, so the shrine cave required location must be in the back of Garinham, if I am not mistaken.
Yeah, the shrine cave, as you call it, that's another old man where you have to trade in that silver harp in order to get the Staff of Rain, which is the top left icon on your tracker there, if you're following the item collection. You need to get those top 3 items in order to trade those in for the rainbow drop. So yeah, he needs to find that old man to trade the harp in for the staff. And as you mentioned, that old man is going to be in the basement of Garinham in this particular seed. Meanwhile, MeleeWizard actually went through Tablet Cave, or he's going through Tablet Cave. I thought I missed it. I did miss it. So if anyone wants to let me know what was in Tablet Cave, it can't be anything too consequential. I assume it was not the sword.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure chat would be going bonkers right now if it was. And Archfield Monk just does confirm that it was just a torch. And now, Captain Green finding a town on the opposite continent, and it is in fact Garinham. So he is going to be able to trade in that harp. He knows where the jerk is, and Captain Green is going to be the first runner here to have Sharlock access. The next most important thing here is the sword in one of these 3 chests he's about to open up? Let's take a look.
And meanwhile, Smashy has fallen 1,000 points behind in that top race, but he does have all the money now. And once he gets the gear, let's see what he can do to make up for that deficit. And what were in those chests, Lavkian?
Looks like there was a key, a torch, and a pair of wings. So no sword in Garinham, which brings us down to 9 chests. It is either in the bottom area of Garinham, or it more likely is in Sharlock itself.
Yeah, so there's the Staff of Rain. As you said, Captain Green is ready to go pick up that rainbow drop. I assume that he saw where that was earlier on. And so yeah, what does he do now? Is he going to be potentially diving into Sharlock looking for the sword? Looks like he still doesn't have Erdrick's armor either, so he's got a little bit more exploration to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Captain Green has found Hawksness yet or not, but I believe that would be the next play.
This is interesting here. I've lost track of how many chests now MeleeWizard has opened in his travels, but he is going to go back into Mountain Cave, potentially trying to round up those chests that he may have missed earlier. And so heads up move, because he will be obtaining the silver harp if he can get to the end of this dungeon. I was wondering if he was going to leave this for a really long time, but yeah, this is one of the quest items that he needs. So we'll see if he makes it to the end of this dungeon now.
And over on Captain Green screen, it looks like he has decided to go ahead, and he's coming back into the mountain or the grave. Might want to full dive that, but this wizard might say no. Went ahead and put him to sleep. He has woken up, and he does manage to get away. So gonna go ahead and do his due diligence check here. Last two chests that are outside of Sharlock, looking for that sword, potentially also looking for that death necklace and fighter's ring, which are also useful items. And let's see if his dive pays off.
So there's the silver harp from MeleeWizard. Still needs that stones of sunlight he'll have to find and navigate the grave. And at the same time, Smashy is now fully geared up with flame sword and magic armor. He still needs to get over to Hawksness for the battle with the Axe Knight and the Erdrick's armor. And he also got the silver shield, so he'll have 10 additional defense points beyond what MeleeWizard will end up with when it's all said and done. But he has an experience deficit to make up, and I'm kind of wondering when he does find Hawksness if he'll stay there and try and make up some ground on that experience.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame him. If I was Smashy, I would be feeling potentially pretty behind here, given how tough it has been going for him. Obviously, MeleeWizard falling behind the experience early, having a tough go of it, but eventually able to purchase those amazing gold grind items, and you see what the results are on your screen.
Yeah, I have to say it's a little bit of a weird situation we had in this seed where you found some towns not too far away, and you saw the flame sword and the silver shield, and I forget where the magic armor was. And then you had keys, and you know that there's gold in the treasury, and you have the mountain cave right there in the basement. So it's all set up for you, but then you just can't get through that mountain cave because there's really bad enemies in there. And you just wonder, like, that's like the key to the whole seed. You need to get through there and set up your grind and get that gear. And how many times should you try on like level 6 or 7 to just run through that dungeon? You know, I think Smashy tried it like 4 times and just couldn't get off that top floor. And it's like, it was just a really important aspect to the seed. And I don't know what the right answer is. Do you just keep trying until you get there or what? Because it's, that was like a critical juncture, I think, in this one.
I have to say, in my opinion, it's really hard to know what the right answer is. I do think that at a certain point, if you're just finding yourself getting completely RNG blocked, it might be a better play to just kind of go and do something else in the interest of both time and sanity. But unfortunately for Smashy, there were important items in that cave as well as the gold grind. Captain Green on the hand in the lower right, going ahead and checking that spike tile, and going to go ahead and grab the princess. So he is still thinking that the armor might be on the map. So we are going to see that Wayland positioning system utilized to unfortunately just find the fairy flute. Which also confirms that Captain Green does not yet know where Hawksness is, but I believe he will find it on the way to that search spot, so this should still prove a fruitful move for him in the long run.
Okay, and Smashy goes ahead and defeats the Axe Knight and gets the armor and decides to get out of there immediately. Not interested in doing any more grinding with no hurt more at their disposal and only 20 MP remaining, so he's going to continue with his adventure. And that's the other aspect, Lavkian, getting back to the point about that early foray into the mountain cave. And you don't know, when you, like you said, if you go ahead and do something else, you don't know, maybe the next level has hurt more, right? And then a lot of that gear doesn't even matter so much anymore, right? So it really is hard to say when everything is set up for you. You see that the gold grind is right there, ready to go, and you can get all this gear. But how long do you spend trying to deal with it when something else could help you along even faster? So I don't know. And there's the torch for Smashy. So trying to think what I guess he still is looking for the grave because he still needs that stones of sunlight. And MeleeWizard is in the same boat. So who's going to find the grave first on that top race? We'll have to watch and find out.
Absolutely. And to talk about the kind of gamble between doing the gold grind and getting some gear versus just trying to get hurt more at that next juncture, that next level. My personal philosophy with regards to this seed, given the fact that they had access to both heal and heal more early, I would put the edge on having gear because we have seen quite a lot of Sharlock monsters. I mean, looking at Captain Green just ran from a wizard, and MeleeWizard is fighting an Axe Knight. And of course, MeleeWizard could, if he had hurt more, opt to use that against the Axe Knight. But let's say it was a blue dragon or a red dragon or a wizard. Hurt more is going to be a lot less useful on those monsters. Whereas if you've got the gear that MeleeWizard has and access to that heal more spell, which again came at level 2, I would always give the edge to having the gear, because then that's going to be the much more reliable method of dispatching those late game monsters.
Yeah, especially when it's all set up for you right there, and it's really early in the race. The earlier you can get that done, the more it's going to pay off for you, since you'll spend the majority of your seed, fully equipped and attacking much stronger enemies. So the wizard in this one, of course, has that combo that you don't want to deal with. But here's like a green dragon for MeleeWizard. So these are all like, having the flame sword and the Erdrick's armor, you can fight enemies like this without hurt more. Just takes a little longer, but it's worth a ton of experience, and he still is maintaining this 1,000-point lead over Smashy. But Smashy, on the other hand, is the one that finds the grave first, so he has the Stones of Sunlight. Unfortunately, he's on pretty low resources, and he's going to want to check those other chests to see if Erdrick's sword is in here, but working on a metal slime in the meanwhile.
And he's going to get those 2 shots, and the slime is going to run away, and it looks like Smashy going to go ahead and finish up that dive to check for the sword. Does have those Stones of Sunlight in hand already, and between Smashy and MeleeWizard, he's going to have the first access to Sharlock.
But this is the thing now. If let's say he finishes this task and he has nothing left to do, Smashy now can go back to Hawksness and grind on those Axe Knights while MeleeWizard is still wandering around looking for the grave. So we have this potential now where that lead could evaporate in the other direction if MeleeWizard is unable to explore the map, and find this grave the way that Smashy just did. And we know that it's on the other side of this swamp cave, and nitzguy1 just found it as well. So that is where MeleeWizard's going to need to go in order to make progress now.
Absolutely. So we know that the grave is pretty much just a screen or so away from that swamp cave. So as soon as MeleeWizard finds that swamp cave, it's only going to be a matter of time before he finds those stones for himself. And there is a potential to get into a little bit more about the Dragon Warrior Randomizer race philosophy here.
We're about to have level 13, by the way, for MeleeWizard. We'll have to watch, see if he gets hurt more now, but go ahead.
So a little bit of philosophy discussion here. As we check that level 5, power 1, speed, 12 hit points, and a spell, and it is hurt more. And we got it. Nice animation there on the tracker. That burning fire representing the awesome power of that hurt more spell.
So here's the thing about that. Before I was just gonna say that if Smashy ends up going and grinding those Axe Knights, he only needs to get through one level of doing it the slow way with the sword, and then it's on to using hurt more. So MeleeWizard kind of needs to hurry up and find this grave now.
Absolutely. And the sooner the better. If he can find it within the next few minutes. He knows where Hawksness is. He knows it's an Axe Knight. He's got the hurt more spell. And so if he can find it within the next few minutes, he should be able to hold on to this experience lead, which could potentially make for a very tight finish. But in the meantime, another thing that could save MeleeWizard a little bit of time is the fact that Smashy did go ahead and full dive the grave. And MeleeWizard could opt, once he finds the Stones of Sunlight on that top floor, on that third chest, he could opt to just leave. He could say, I'm going to take my chances on the fact that it's 7 and 9 odds in Sharlock. We know here in the caster's booth that the sword is in Sharlock. Of course, MeleeWizard does not know that yet. But if he wants to take that risk, he could save himself a few minutes by just grabbing those stones of sunlight, leaving immediately, trading all that stuff in. He knows where Hawksnest is, and he can just start his grind and go mode right away. We'll have to see what he chooses to do in the next few minutes.
So I felt like you were going to make another point about the philosophy. I don't know.
Just about whether or not to full dive the grave. That was my
absolutely, because as you said, it's a little bit of a probability thing, right? The problem is if it happens to be in the bottom of the grave, it's a really long trip, going into the Charlock and then having it not be there. You know what I mean? So that's, everybody has to kind of weigh how do they want to approach that particular thing. So we'll see throughout the course of this tournament. Some people like to go all the way to the bottom, and some like to exit and take their chances. So we'll see plenty of races where that will come into play for sure.
Meanwhile, here in our bottom race, Nitzguy versus Captain Green, tight race here in terms of experience. Of course, I do believe that. So let's see. We have Captain Green with the Staff of Rain. Nitzguy still needing to find that Shrine Cave, which we know is in the back of Grinham on that opposite continent. But essentially in grind and go mode, does know where that jerk is going to be confident in just picking up that rainbow drop when he's ready to go into Charlock. For now, just going to go ahead and grind on those Axe Knights. And of course, as Up to and G pointed out before, he is not too terribly far away from picking up that Hurt More spell. And our grind and go mode here is just going to kick into Warp Drive for Captain Green in a matter of moments.
Yeah, it all comes down to the basic premise behind this game, where you have to get a certain amount of experience in order to defeat the Dragon Lord. There's just no way around it. And then process to even get to the Dragon Lord, you have to get these quest items. So there's always this exploration versus grinding balance. And we're going to see on the race on the top with Smashy now getting the rainbow drop. We're going to see now the fact that he was able to get all of the stuff faster, even though he's behind for now, it may turn out to be to his advantage. The exploration battle has been won by Smashy, despite the fact that he fell behind with experience. So now with this dedicated grind on this Axe Knight, we're going to see that he's going to catch up with experience. So some players take the tact of they don't even worry too much about experience. If they can just round everything up, then they can come over to a place like Hawksnest and get the experience afterwards, and that works out well for them sometimes. And in other cases, it's just you have too much of a deficit if you're not worried about experience along the way. So it's a little bit different from seed to seed, and we're going to see on this top race what happens here when one player gets all the items necessary and the other is still looking around.
Yeah, I would personally say it's much better overall at the higher levels to be trying to pick up as much experience as you can while you're out on the map, because you don't want to necessarily rely on this kind of golden situation here where you do have the option of a skillless Axe Knight in one of the grind tiles. That is not always an option here.
Don't look now, but MeleeWizard has found Swamp Cave, and he runs into a red dragon, and he's not casting outside to get through, which is a little bit of an oversight anytime you're going from south to north, and I guess he just wants to see what is on the spike tile. I think he already knows that there's an Axe Knight in Hawksnest, though, so it's a little surprising. But anyways, this is the key for MeleeWizard, because we know that the grave is over here on the other side of Swamp Cave, as well as the town of Garenham for the staff. So how quickly can he get that done? And I'm a little concerned that he seems to maybe be going after the princess here. And I don't know why he would be doing such a thing, but he has defeated the Stone Man and looks to be running. Okay, he's just going to move on. Not going with the outside spell, just taking his chances with the red dragons. But here he is. Can he get to the necessary locations before Smashy eliminates this lead?
I think he can, because if I remember correctly, Garenham and the cave are not too far away. We can already see that grave on our screen. And again, it remains to be seen whether or not MeleeWizard is going to go in there, grab the stones, and leave. But I do want to note a couple of things here about Melee's play. Just a couple of tiny little pieces of criticism. You pointed out that he didn't use the outside spell to immediately get out. Just in case anyone else is unaware here, when you enter the south side of the swamp cave, if you cast outside, it will immediately take you out of the other side. And so MeleeWizard could have used the outside spell to immediately get to that second continent, chose not to. But the other little thing that I want to mention here is that MeleeWizard has not been making use of that repel spell as he walks around on the map. I've been seeing him running into red slimes and drakies and Magidrakies, and normally for a lot of runners at that high level, running into any one of those monsters is going to be your clue that, hey, I need to cast that outside or that repel spell so that I'm not getting stopped by these encounters, because it might just be 5 or 10 seconds here or there, but that's going to add up over the course of the race, as Smashy is going to quickly potentially take the experience lead while MeleeWizard rounds up the last of those items.
Yeah, and it was decision time right there, and he is choosing to dive into the bottom of the grave to look for the sword. And you're absolutely right about the repel spell, and particularly when he did get to level 13 and learned Hurt More. That is usually the flag where you want to start casting repel in almost all situations. You can hurt more very strong enemies, and you just don't ever want to see the very weak enemies anymore at that point. So whether or not you want to do it before you learned Hurt More, I guess that's situational. But certainly now, over the last 10 to 15 minutes, he probably would have been better off casting it at every opportunity, as you said. So if he can hurry up and get through this grave and realize that the sword is not in here, he's got to start grinding soon. And I know that we saw the stats a few minutes ago, and they're certainly not there yet, I don't believe. I think the strength score is still a bit low. But it could only be another couple of levels here.
Yeah, once we see those stats flash back up on our tracker, we can start going over the calculations that these runners are going to be doing in order to figure out when they are ready to take on that Dragon Lord. Meanwhile, Smashy going over here, he's going to take this in and refresh his stats, and kind of curious if he might want to take a foray into Sharlock. Meanwhile, we do have the stats up here. 73 strength. No fighter's ring is going to be 113 attack power for our runners, but even more important than that is that 89 HP. Not going to want to face the Dragon Lord just yet.
That's another detail, is that the fighter's ring is going to be in Sharlock also, and if you find the sword first, who's going to remember to continue searching and look for the fighter's ring, especially if the level is fairly close to where those 2 attack power might, put you over the line to an easier fight with the Dragon Lord. It's something at this stage of the game that can easily be overlooked. Smashy just using Breckenary there near Sharlock as an in, choosing not to go diving into Sharlock necessarily for the sword. Now, if the Axe Knight wasn't on this spike tile, you might well see Smashy go in and get the sword in that situation, but it just so happens that there's a hurt mortal enemy pretty close by, and that is potentially just a faster grind. If this was a golem or something on this spike tile, I think we would look for him to go hunting for the sword.
Absolutely, but for the time being, we have Nitzguy and MeleeWizard not racing each other again, racing the person to their right, but they are doing that virtual high five, hitting the second continent at pretty much the exact same time, already possessing those stones of sunlight and going to be trading in that harp for the Staff of Rain momentarily. And now it's going to be really, really close. Nitzguy does have quite a bit of experience to make up, but it looks like between Smashy and MeleeWizard going to be potentially very close here.
MeleeWizard has the staff cave, potentially. As soon as he goes into the basement, he's found Garenham. And he's getting blocked by NPCs.
Blocks. The classic.
And there are some more NPCs back here that could also block you. I think he's got a clear shot here, but gonna look in these chests as well for the sword and potentially the fighter's ring. Like you said, the death necklace doesn't seem like it's going to be a thing in this one, but yeah, still have to open these chests along the way, but he's going to be getting his staff as nitzguy1 down bottom is doing the same right now. And now the race is on with MeleeWizard and Smashy very close experience-wise. Smashy has just overtaken him and has a 3 or 4 or 500 point lead over MeleeWizard right now. MeleeWizard still has to go and get the drop. So that'll take a couple of extra moments to do that. And Smashy now has a slight command over that top race.
Absolutely, and Captain Green, not too far behind in the overall experience lead, has a pretty comfortable lead over nitzguy1, and having that Hurt More spell and having access to those Axe Knights, more than likely going to hold on to that experience lead for the foreseeable future. And so it's basically going to come down to, from what we've seen so far, a potentially very nasty Sharlock. From what I recall, we have seen the Sleep Hurt More Wombo combo out of the Wizards. We've seen Dragon Lord 2 Breath out of the Golems. And I do believe of Axe Knight, Green Dragon, and Red Dragon, we have not seen much yet. The only thing that leaves are Star Wyverns, Werewolves, and Blue Dragons that could potentially have some nasty skills to mix things up as we finish up these seeds.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of those monsters at all, have we? I don't recall seeing any of those. So it could be some surprises in store. But fortunately, a lot of those monsters are easier to run from. It's typically when the Red Dragon or the Armored Knight has something really nasty that it's a concern, because it's difficult to run from those enemies. But you never know. Anytime an enemy has sleep, it's kind of a problem. So see how many wizards they run into in Sharlock.
Alrighty, and Captain Green, by the way, just to give a little shout out for any Dragon Quest fans, as opposed to Dragon Warrior fans, in the chat, he did decide to punch that Axe Knight a couple of times and did get that Kaishin no Ichigeki against one of those Axe Knights, that being, of course, Japanese for excellent move.
All right, and Smashy had another lengthy in walk and is making his way back, and CaptainGreen7 seems to be keeping very close pace with Smashy. Of course, they're in separate races from each other, but it's going to come down to the wire between those two in particular. And MeleeWizard is just a shade behind, certainly well within one failed Sharlock dive of overtaking this race for sure. That's always a possibility. Anytime you have a close race, it could come down to success in navigating through Sharlock on your first try, which is definitely not always a sure thing.
And now MeleeWizard has collected all the items and is in Hawk's Nest, which puts 3 of our 4 screens here in that grind and go mode. Very, very comfy spot here. They've gotten in very close by. They got Axe Knights. They got Hurt More. We're going to be here for a while, folks.
Yep, and we see the stats again, and at level 14, they have a relatively comfortable agility score as well. It's not, if it stayed right there, we could see that it's in the orange, and it would be a little bit shaky getting through some Sharlock encounters. If they will look for that to grow a little bit more along with the strength score, and we see with Smashy achieving level 15, we go into the green for the agility. And that is certainly a nice agility score to have, but they got no strength. You simply can't do enough damage to the Dragon Lord. So, and he does now have enough hit points to take that battle. So we're pretty much looking for strength at this point. And so remember, you have to add 12 points to the attack power score there to account for upgrading from the Flame Sword to the Erdrick Sword, which is going to be somewhere in Sharlock Castle. And they'll all be looking for that unless we get a gigantic power gain that just puts you over the top. But 12 additional attack power there, and another 2 from the Fighter's Ring, which can also be found in Sharlock at this point. So we're looking at about 119 attack power for Smashy if he went in right now, and that is usually not enough. But we are in striking distance. It's a situation where at 92 defense power, get the Silver Shield, he could start thinking about fighting enemies in Sharlock for this last level. It's just that the Axe Knight in particular in Hawksness is such a fast grind. It's hard to leave it early. But that's another thing that could be a thing for some of our runners. We'll see if anybody wants to dip in and try and get the last level on the way down, hoping that the strength score is coming.
Yeah, interesting discussion in chat talking about those defense breakpoints and what they mean by defense breaking. For those, again, unfamiliar with the way Vanilla Dragon Warrior works. So let's take a look at Smashy's screen here, and especially his stats. Right now, Smashy has 92 defense power, and so that means, let me just pull up those stats here. So that 92 defense is going to have him defense breaking pretty much everything in Sharlock. He's going to have Werewolves, Green Dragons, Star Wyverns, and Wizards defense broken. What that means is that his defense power is higher than the attack power of those monsters. Again, Wizard, Green Dragon, Wyvern, and Werewolf. And that means that those monsters, which would normally be doing somewhere in the realm of like 10 to 20 damage, are now doing 0 to 14, 0 to 10 damage. And by 0, I mean they do have a chance to completely miss and do 0 damage at all. And the vast majority of the damage they do is going to be single digits. And again, as people mentioned in chat, the next breakpoint they want to hit is 94, which will include Axe Knights, and then it's 98, which will include Blue Dragons, which again does make that attempt to dive Sharlock and fight your way down look a little bit more juicy.
So just to add to what you just said, another threshold to keep in mind is that Smashy is over 90 defense power, which is enough to defense break the Dragon Lord first form, which is yet another reason why sometimes you might want to pop in there early, because that is a way that you can get through that fight while maintaining your hit points for the second form. Sometimes if it takes a swing at you and doesn't do hardly any damage, you're saving a turn there. So that Silver Shield comes into play in these small ways, but it can make the difference sometimes.
Absolutely. I think all these runners are going to be very happy to have that Silver Shield. Again, that's 10 points difference over the large shield. So Smashy, for example, would only have 82 defense in this situation, which another key point to remember, I do believe it's about 86 defense. That's going to be a very important number in future races, because that's the point at which the Dragon Lord 2, that final boss, is only going to be able to do 47 damage on a physical, not 48. Or maybe it's 48, not 49. Anyway, the main point here is that at 86 defense and higher, you know you're safe to attack if you have 49 HP or more. And all of our runners, well before they're going to want to do that dive, are going to meet that benchmark, and they know that 49 is going to be the safe attack margin.
So let's talk about one of the other stats that we haven't mentioned is the MP total. You can see on the screen is still in the orange. That 79 for Smashy means that you can only cast Heal More 9 times against the Dragon Lord. And so that's an important factor when calculating when it's time to go. And it's also one of the things that the runners will think about, if you want to go into Sharlock early and try and get the level on the way down, the one stat that you don't benefit from in that case is the MP. If you get nothing but a big MP boost on your level up, you need to get out of there and go back to an inn in order to take advantage of the additional potential heal mores. And since that is one of the stats that's kind of on the low side, that's another reason to just stay here and get the level now before going into Sharlock. If MP remained exactly the same, however, we would be looking for somewhere around 140 attack power in order for that to be enough magic. So they're not particularly close to that yet, but if we get a little bit more strength and a little bit more MP, all of a sudden we're starting to get pretty close. And Smashy is almost there, I believe. Let's see. I think this Axe Knight here will do it.
Well, yes.
See what happens at level 16.
All right, level 16 for Smashy is going to bring 6 power, 2 response speed, 6 HP, and 5 MP, giving him an extra heal more. He is now at 123 with the sword, but only 10 heal more is not going to want to head down just yet. Again, a key factor here is that with these Axe Knights here in Hawk's Nest, it's 2,250 experience from level to level up through level 19. That takes about 5 minutes per level at this point with this particular grind. And so walking away from that to make a potentially 8 or 9 minute dive as you fight your way down, that's an extremely tough choice to make.
Yeah, if he gets the ring as well, it would be 125, but that's still not even particularly close to being enough. And one other small detail, as you mentioned earlier, he only got 1 additional defense power from the agility gain on that level, so not quite defense breaking Axe Knights yet. On this level, he would need 1 more defense power. And interestingly, all of our runners chose to go with the strength HP build, which emphasized hit point growth and strength growth. And one of the other options would have been to focus on agility growth. And anyone that took that build would now be defense breaking Axe Knights and potentially could never, you could be in a spot where you never have to go back to this inn to heal up. Watch how long it takes for Smashy to walk all the way to the inn and all the way back to Hawk's Nest. It's a significant factor. So it's a little bit silly that they only got the 1 defense point there and aren't quite able to break the Axe Knight, and they're just doing too much damage and they have to go continue to heal up at the end.
Absolutely. And while we are watching Smashy go ahead and take that in, and everyone else is again just grinding away on those Axe Knights, I do want to take a moment to talk to some of the members of chat who are a little less well-versed in Randomizer. So you may have noticed that some of our more seasoned runners here in chat are talking about attack power and calculations, and is it enough, is it not enough? So what are they kind of thinking about in their heads there? What are these runners thinking about in their heads there? Well, here is what they are thinking about. Smashy, as we look at his stats, has 83 strength right now. Erdrick's sword gives plus 40 attack power. That would get him up to 123. If he were to pick up the fighter's ring, that would get him up to 125. Now, the calculation that we want to do here is what damage ranges are you going to have against that Dragon Lord 2, against that final boss? Well, in order to do that, first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to subtract 100 from your attack power total. That accounts for the defense of the Dragon Lord, which leaves you with a number of 25. Divide that number in half. That's going to give you 12 and a half. Round down, that's going to give you 12. 12 is going to be your upper damage, max damage range against Dragon Lord 2. Divide that in half once again, that gives you 6. That's going to be your minimum damage. So right now, Smashy with Erdrick's sword and the fighter's ring is going to be doing 6 to 12 damage to Dragon Lord 2. And you add those numbers together, divide them by 2, you get a average of 9. And so that means, on average, Smashy will be doing 9 damage to the Dragon Lord with each attack. And as we pointed out before, Smashy currently has 84 MP. That is 10 heal mores. And the optimum strategy that every runner is going to be utilizing here is going to be attack, heal more, attack, heal more. Now, we do make some exceptions. For the very first round, you generally get 2 attacks before you have to heal more. And the very last round, once you cast that last heal more, you get 2 desperation attacks at the very end. And so you have those 10 heal mores plus the 2 extra attacks at the beginning and the end. It gives you 12 total assumed attacks against the Dragon Lord. Once you multiply that by the 9 average damage, that's going to give you 108 expected average damage against the Dragon Lord. Dragon Lord 2 in Randomizer has anywhere from 150 to 165 HP. So right now, basically, they are not even.
Oh,
close.
baby, here we go. So MeleeWizard is going to try and fight his way down for the last level, and he is taking a geographical lead over Smashy. So if they get a large boost here on level 17, I guess it would be, then and if MeleeWizard manages to get all the way down there on this dive while conserving MP, this could be interesting for this race here. It's a little bit of a gamble to, as you said, leave that Axe Knight behind, but he is closer to the Dragon Lord than Smashy right now. It's just that he's going to have to take a lot more fights. You know, when Smashy gets the level, he's just going to go straight for the Dragon Lord. Sometimes this is a way to make up a minute or two if the level works out just right. But I'll be curious now once he gets 16 right now, or on the next fight after this, if he is going to just abort and go back to a regular grind, or if he's going to continue down.
Yeah, what the most important thing to look for here is whether or not MeleeWizard chooses to burn a heal more, and he did immediately against that second or third blue dragon. And so basically what MeleeWizard's going to do here is he's scouting. He's scouting for the sword. He's scouting to see what kind of enemies are in Sharlock. So far, he's seen a bunch of blue dragons on that top floor, and blue dragons, we can now confirm, do not have any special abilities. And at 84 agility, once he's ready to make that full dive, we know that he's going to be a huge favorite to run from those blue dragons on that top floor. Meanwhile, Nitzguy, the first person between himself and Captain Green to go ahead and do that dive, also going to be looking for that sword himself as well.
Just a small detail there. Smashy had a little bit of an issue with a golem while exiting Hawksness there, and made the heads-up play where he was down to about 20 HP, and we know that golems have some nasty abilities. And he used that fairy flute that he took that time to count out to guarantee the ability to run away so that he could maintain his position on the map and continue with this grind near Hawksness. It's interesting because not everybody, you know, the flute was not required here. Not everybody went and got it, but he got it, and he found a reason to use it right there. And so nice play by Smashy, just the small details. And he now is going to take a peek into Sharlock on 17 with some of these new stats. Here we go.
And yeah, pretty significant strength boost there on 17, going to be up to 134 with the sword, and 136 if he can find the ring as well, which will bring his average to 918. 27 divided by 2.
The ring is significant
average
here.
Damage. Absolutely.
Like, for example, if the sword is in the treasury and the ring for some reason is up at the extra chest on the second floor, are they going to go back for the ring or not? It's very borderline without the ring in this case because of that low MP total. Only 10 heal mores even here on 17. They didn't get much of a boost on 17. So 134 attack power as you were just starting to calculate. That's a little bit dicey, but if you get the ring and get up to 136 attack power, believe it or not, that makes the numbers look a lot more interesting.
Absolutely. And as we have 3 people diving for the sword, we do like to play a little game here in the Dragon Warrior Randomizer community. You can see people already, CD Improv in chat, making her guess as to where the sword is. And if anyone wants to, in chat wants to play along and get their guess in for the sword, essentially we have 7 options here. There are 6 chests that are all grouped together in the treasury at the bottom of Sharlock. They are top left, bottom left, middle, bottom middle, and bottom right. And then we have what some like to call the the judges table, which is that vanilla sword chest that they would have to go back up and find as well.
So since you mentioned it, quick shout out for CD Improv, our restreamer tonight, making all this happen for our viewers, and Archfield Monk on the tracking. Pretty difficult job to track all the screens simultaneously. Well done on that front as well. So great broadcast we have going here on RPG Limit Break. We're nearing the end game, and Smashy is taking the tactic of running from all enemies now. He's deciding that 17 is enough, and he is foregoing any additional experience points. And meanwhile, we have MeleeWizard has beaten him to the bottom floor. Unfortunately, he still has to get 17, and he doesn't have enough MP to make it work anyways.
And Lorga noting in chat that top and middle floors look pretty safe in terms of running into those sleep casting red dragons. However, Smashy, in that, I believe he is in the U-bend, which is the top of that final zone here. Running into the wizard, getting that wombo combo, not quite taking him out, but
he continues to. continues to get run blocked with 91 agility to fail a run attempt against a and he fails another run attempt from a wizard.
Oh,
And he has a hurt more
no.
potentially dying here, and he dies. This race is heating up on the top screens, guys. MeleeWizard has to finish out this level and redive as quickly as possible. Smashy still has a very slight lead in this race, but it's closing quickly, and that I have to say is one of the it's hard to calculate, but that is one of the more unlucky encounters I've seen in Sherlock in a little while. With 91 agility, to fail that many run attempts from a wizard is unusual.
And MeleeWizard has found the sword, the ring, and the death necklace. Death necklace not likely to get used in this seed at all. And then, unfortunately, Smashy getting blocked by the wizard multiple times in a row. I would just like to point out that at their current agility, it is an 81% chance to run from a wizard. If I were Smashy, I would change my name to Salty right about now.
Absolutely, and he's going straight back in, and I'm just trying to think because he was in a difficult spot there on low HP. He was continuing to just try and run and maybe use some herbs after. He's really not in a position to be able to use a heal more during battle. The numbers are so close for the Dragon Lord fight that he just had to continue running. And even though he knew that if he got blocked again, his HP was so low, typically what you would hope to do is heal more out of that situation. And but yeah, he really can't afford to spend the extra heal mores. He does have a little bit of extra MP to maybe cast a stop spell here or there if he wants to. That's a potential thing that they could try, but I'm not sure that any of them have even tried a stop spell attempt on a wizard yet, and they do have some resistance to the stop spell. It's the resistance is randomized, of course, in the randomizer, so you don't know how resistant they will be until you try it a few times. But what an ugly break for Smashy, and he's just heading back down. And we have an Axe Knight on the spike tile for MeleeWizard, so he can get this level on this spike tile here fairly quickly.
Absolutely, and I imagine once he sees level 17, he's going to realize that is the go level, probably going to cast that outside spell with haste and make his way out. Nitzguy finding the fighter's ring, going to find that sword and that death necklace momentarily and probably head outside himself. Meanwhile, Captain Green also getting all the stuff together, has all his MP, has all of his HP. I imagine he's got 6 herb in his back pocket as well. We could see our first finisher right here, right now. Average damage that they're looking at if they don't get any doubles mid-fight is 156. They are a favorite. Captain Green is a favorite to win right now.
Yeah, and it's really the dream that he's going to get the Axe Knight on the Guardian, because that's a factor that sometimes you don't think about. If that Guardian was something nasty, for example, I don't know if he went and got the flute, and if it was the Golem, it could be a real problem in the seed if you don't have the flute. But it is the Axe Knight, so no resources are going to be spent. He should be 3-shotting this guy basically always, and actually manages to 2-shot it here with a really big roll on the second attack. So full resources, defense one, and here we go.
Yep, he is going to go ahead and say no. Saying yes here is a soft lock would be a terrible thing to do. Just go ahead and hold that B button, and we're going to start the Dragon Lord 1 fight, starting off with 36 damage. Dragon Lord 1 can have anywhere from 80 to 100 HP. Opening it with that hurt more. And going to do because this is going to go ahead and tickle Captain Green as he goes ahead and starts off the Dragon Lord 2 fight. No back attack here. 17 damage right there at the top of the range. Does get the double attack. 17 again. 34 is a wonderful start for Captain Green. He is a huge favorite to win this fight now.
So the Death Necklace was also in one of those chests, and I did not notice if they got the Fighter's Ring, Lavkian. Did you mention that it was not there?
Fighter's Ring was there. Fighter's Ring is bottom right, so he has to have it.
Oh, I just saw Smashy get the last few chests. I didn't notice him equip the ring, so he must have done it right before I took a peek there. So yeah, with the sword and the ring, that's a little bit of a better situation. As long as you remember to equip it. So how many HP does this particular Dragon Lord have in this seed? It can have as low as 150, but as high as 165 in these borderline situations. That can be a factor.
Yeah, I was going to start to count, but as Zarnax pointed out, it doesn't matter. He is the huge favorite here. Might even be able to sneak in another double attack. No, the Dragon Lord does breathe that fire, forcing out another heal more. But again, this is definitely what I like to call an input error lock. An accidental hurt more, an accidental swing when he meant to heal more is pretty much the only thing that could stop Captain Green from being victorious in this fight.
Well, particularly
so he
because
is down to his
started
last
off
heal
with
more.
such good rolls. Yeah, if the rolls had gone the other way, we'd be sweating it right now. He's got 2 more attacks here, and there it is.
Alrighty, just gonna commence with formalities here. Gonna cast that return spell. Gonna walk through Tantegel Castle. Gonna go talk to that king, and gonna go ahead and throw that done in chat, which he just did. Captain Green and Nitzguy on your bottom screen. Captain Green, first place with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 42 minutes, and 11 seconds. And we have gone ahead and invited him for that interview. He has agreed, and we will just wait on him to join momentarily, and we will get his point of view on this race.
Nice for him to take the diagonal conversation with the king there, so that he can be face to face with the princess when she comes out to speak to him. Hoists her up in his arms, and all is right with the world. CaptainGreen7, 1-0 in the Swiss rounds. Congrats to him on his first round victory. And Smashy is in a fight with the Dragon Lord second form himself. Haven't noticed if he's been rolling on the high side or the low side. This is fairly close with the calculations, so you do want to be rolling well here.
And with that ding, I do believe we have CaptainGreen7 in chat with us. Captain Green, congratulations on your win and being 1-0. You want to give us your thoughts on that seed overall?
Possibly need to push to talk or unmute.
Okay, sorry, I have it now.
Hooray! How was that seed for you, sir?
It felt pretty scary the entire way through. It's kind of a tough one.
Scary in terms of?
I wasn't ever really sure. Like, usually I have a good idea if I'm ahead, behind, doing well, not doing well. This one I really had no idea the entire way through.
And Smashy takes down the Dragon Lord on his second to last attack, and he will be the victor in the top pairing between himself and MeleeWizard. 1-0 for Smashy.
And he will finish with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 6 seconds. And he will also move to 1-0 in this early Swiss round. But turning our attention back to Captain Green, who we do have here in Discord with us, you're talking about, not sure if you were ahead or behind. One thing I want to mention here is that that early gold grind option was available. It was kind of down to a 50-50 chance, which I want to note. Unfortunately, you kind of lost that coin flip opening the gold chest early. Nitzguy actually won and did go ahead and do that level 1 gold grind, which unfortunately didn't pay off. I'm curious, if you had opened that gold chest second, would you have considered doing that level 1 gold grind, or maybe just gone ahead and done the reset without the sword?
That wizard. I'm sorry.
That wizard, Smashy. That wizard. Yes, we can talk about that in a moment. But Captain Green, your thoughts on the level 1 gold grind?
I would have. It was in the back of my head. So, like, when I first left Tantegel, the very first thing I did was go as far west as I could, go as far as east as I could, looking for a town. And if I had found a town early, then I would have done a full reset and done the gold grind. But because I couldn't find anything, and because west had green dragons and red dragons, I figured it probably wasn't worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Did not really pay off for Nitzguy in the early going, unfortunately. Took quite a while to find Rimmeldar, and he spent quite a bit of time holding on to that gold, and I was kind of speculating, if given that that early level gave so many spells, especially the heal and heal more spells, there was potential for him to hold on to, even just half of that gold could have gotten him a flame sword out of Rimmildar. Unfortunately, did not pay off in the long run. But Captain Green, one thing I do want to mention about your early game strategy is out of pretty much all 4 runners here that we had on this seed, you spent the most time. You did have an experience lead early because you were really liking grinding those wolves and warlocks just kind of west to start there, going all the way up to level 7, level 8 at one point, doing a little bit of exploration, going up to level 9, and I believe even level 10. Maybe if you could kind of walk us through your thoughts there. Very curious strategy that no one else really took.
Sure. So I poked my head across the bridge a couple times and just found dragons. And it's a strategy I like to go to is the early grind, because there's always the possibility of that early hurt more. So that part of it didn't pay off this time, but when given the choice between exploration and what looks like a pretty scary zone and just having a nice grind spot there with wolves and warlocks, that's the choice I'll make every time, is trying to fish for that early hurt more, and if nothing else, getting some more decent stats to make the exploration easier.
MeleeWizard, by the way, has just defeated the Dragon Lord as well, so a fairly close race up top. He is going to take second in that one, third in our overall display here. And congrats to MeleeWizard, 146.56, less than 3 minutes behind Smashy in that one.
Absolutely. Yeah, so CaptainGreen7, very interesting that, you did want to look for that early hurt more. I think, in my opinion, I think that was the right call, especially because I'm not sure exactly when you picked it up, but I know you did get a hand axe at one point, which was pretty much making those wolves and warlocks a formality. So yeah, taking a pretty early experience lead there, I think was a pretty solid move. But let's go ahead and pivot to Smashy a little bit. Smashy, you had some choice words for us as soon as you popped into Discord.
That wizard.
Yeah, what was going through your mind when you had to redive in a situation where it seemed like you were a favorite to get through that dive in one try?
I hope I don't get sniped because of it. And I did, but thankfully it was a guy in a different race.
Definitely. Yeah, that must have, when you saw that dot done, that must have made you jump a little bit. But yeah, as it turns out, you ended up
and it's like,
ended up with a narrow victory here.
That's not MeleeWizard. Hello, MeleeWizard.
So I have
Wizard. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I had one more thing for you, which besides that Sharlock, which went poorly, a big factor for you seemed like you kind of, early on you decided to save the key, and you very quickly were able to get more keys, which was great. And then you poked into Mountain Cave, and the recipe was on the table for a quick gold grind, and you had seen a flame sword and I think a silver shield already. And yet you could not get through that mountain cave to save your life. And that had to be annoying. And kind of like, what's the thought process on like how many times do you try it and how long do you leave it until later? Because it seemed like not having that gear for a long time, for a little while, it was becoming costly, because MeleeWizard did manage to get through that on a fairly early level and got some gear quite a bit before you did.
Yeah, once I saw that there were 3 enemies in there, 2 with Dragonlord Breath, I just decided I was going to find Grave first. Unfortunately, Grave was way out there, so
everything was way out there.
I was going for Grave, and once that kind of didn't pan out, that's when I just took another chance and finally got through, and that let me kill the Axe Knight for Erdrick's armor, and pretty much just wrapped up the rest of the exploration right there.
Yeah, it was just that those early levels seemed like they were a lot more difficult, and it seemed like a pretty big just random variance. If you had just had the hero walk and got through that mountain cave on your first try, it would have just gone totally differently. But in the meanwhile, because you kept running into that red dragon, it was just a struggle to get to that point. And MeleeWizard, I think I saw you in here, correct? So congrats on a very close race against a very difficult opponent.
Yeah. I had some bad run luck on that last Charlock dive. It's like, ay. Even on the first floor, as the dang Arbor Knight made me waste a heal more, which almost cost me the dang Dragonlord fight.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
had to take him out of my last dang hit.
I'm thinking that you didn't get as bad run luck as Smashy did, though. You'll see when you watch it back.
Well, it wasn't just the run luck. There were periods throughout this race where it's like I was getting encounter like every single step. It felt like sometimes it's like step wyvern, step wyvern, step wyvern, which is fine because wyverns give a lot of experience, but I'm not getting any exploration done.
Nitzguy1, by the way, about to battle the Dragon Lord, so all of you guys were relatively close in this fairly long seed. So congrats
Smashy,
to you
what
all
level
for
were
keeping
you
it
when
competitive.
you went in?
I went in and won at 17.
Okay, same. I went in at 16 to try to get and got the sword and check the trap tile and just grinded up to 17 from there.
Yeah, everyone taking that strategy of getting the sword early. And as we watch Nitzguy go ahead and finish up here, I have a question. You know, we still got all three of you here, Captain Green, MeleeWizard, and Smashy. And I just want to ask a quick question because we're having, you know, a little bit of a debate here in chat and as well here in the commentators booth. There has been, you know, I don't know how wide of a debate this is in the community, but I know Lorgun and I have at least gone back and forth on this. Pretty much at the end of the seed, every single one of you had a choice. And you found the Stones of Sunlight in the very top of the grave. And so at that point, you've got everything you need to go get the rainbow drop and go dive Charlock. And you have basically 2 chests left to check that are outside Charlock, and then the 7 chests that are inside Charlock to try to grab that sword. And every one of you did choose to go ahead and dive the rest of the way down the grave. But I'm curious if that was a calculated move on your part, or if that was something that you're just saying, no, I have to check this.
I wanted the sword. That's pure and simple. If I had the sword, I wouldn't have checked him.
Yeah, you've got to make sure sword's not down there.
Yeah,
especially given how far you had to go to get to grave. If it was close to home, maybe, but when it was the farthest thing in the dang world, no.
Oh, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah, the distance definitely made a difference, and also once I found Garenham, and that was what I wanted to find first, and then I'm like, okay, like it's one of those things where I don't want to lose because I left 2 chests in the grave. I'd rather be thorough than gamble just a couple minutes, try and save.
Not to mention with the wyverns and wraith knights, there was some good experience to be had going through there.
Absolutely, all good arguments indeed. And oh no, very unfortunately here, Nitzguy made a very, very heroic fight against the Dragon Lord 2, swinging on 36. I don't know if that was an accident or if he was getting bad rolls, but unfortunately he has run out of resources. He has died to Dragon Lord 2, and he did go ahead and forfeit. Very unfortunate for Nitzguy, but making a heroic effort of it. Probably would have finished with about a time of 155. Extremely respectable, considering this is his 6th SRL race ever.
I was watching, and he did enter that fight with all 10 heal more. So as we were all, you know, speculating, those numbers were close. And if you did not get the right rolls or you got back attacked and things like that, as we see here, 1 out of 4 of our runners was unsuccessful, even despite going in with full resources. So it's a risk you have to take when, you know, you're in a race situation. You have to go for it, but we could see sometimes doesn't quite work out. But kudos for Nitzguy on a great race.
Yeah, he really did his best to manufacture some doubles. And Betastrep noting in chat that he got ambushed, rolled poorly, and obviously that ambush is going to take away one of those attacks and bring you down to a 143 average. And so if he got poor rolls, even manufacturing the extra doubles, unfortunately, luck got the better of Nitzguy this evening. But again, I want to give him credit for the absolutely heroic effort. I don't know anyone who would swing on 31. He did it. He survived that attack, but unfortunately did not survive the rest of the fight.
I think I swung at 20, but I had no choice.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta go for it on that very last attack when you have no HP.
I did have that split second moment of do I shoot for the hurt more, but I was so far along in the fight that I don't think it would have been worth it.
A quick question too before we wrap it up. How are you guys enjoying the slightly different maps that we've been dealing with on this latest version of Randomizer?
I like them.
This is actually the first seed I finished in this version. I don't think I've touched this very much since the league.
I like them, but I find them actually a little bit harder to draw out personally.
Yeah, they seem a bit more complex, and in this case, it seems quite large, and a lot of twists and turns, a little bit of rivers and bridges to navigate. So, yeah, it's fun watching everybody try and get through these new maps.
If anything, all the landmarks and rivers, it's for me, it makes it actually kind of easier to keep track of where things are and what direction I need to go in.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. It's not just one big block of grasslands or something like that. There's a lot of more identifying markers. But congrats again to Smashy and Captain Green. You're going to be 1-0 going forward to week 2. We have a total of 5 rounds, 1 race per week for the next few weeks here. And MeleeWizard and nitzguy1, you guys are going to be facing someone with a similar record in your next match. So could be a good opportunity to bounce back and see how things go next week for you guys.
Alrighty, well, once again, I'm going to go ahead and drop those commands in chat. Go ahead and please follow today's runners. They've put on an excellent show for you guys today. Please go ahead and drop a follow on our runners, MeleeWizard, Smashy, nitzguy1, and CaptainGreen7. Go ahead and drop a follow on our wonderful, wonderful streamer, CD Improv, and go ahead and drop a follow on our tracker, our amazing tracker handling all 4 screens at once, Archfield Monk. And go ahead and drop a follow on my co-commentator Up2NG and myself, Lavkian. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it to our 3 runners in chat. Do you guys have any last comments on that seed?
That wizard.
That wizard.
That's a comment.
I'm just glad the Red Dragons weren't a presence in Sharlock, because those things didn't they have the Wombo combo themselves?
Yeah, they had Wombo.
Yeah, that I was afraid of encountering them. I was amazed that the deep end of Sharlock was as weak as it was, honestly.
Yeah, same thing they said, and thanks guys for commentary and tracking, and thanks RPG Limit Break for hosting.
You are welcome. And with that, I guess it's time to wrap it up, Lavkin. We'll be having races all week and probably all month, I guess, upcoming. We have tons of races to schedule and to display for everyone. Hopefully many more to come right here on RPG Limit Break. So for my co-commentator Lavkin, I'm Up2NG. Thanks everyone for watching, and see you next time.
Alrighty, right back into more action here with the finish of Amazing